It's cold.
To the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the July 21st County Council meeting. Ms. Zemba, would you do a roll call for us, please?
Mr. Brown. Here. Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mr. Giovanni. Here. Mr. Gofredo. Out. Mr. Heckman.
Here.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky. Mr. Gofredo is absent. Ms. Fargo Hefner is on the phone, and the rest are present.
Can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of July 7th, 2022?
I'll make a motion.
Call for a voice. Vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we have courtesy of the floor. I have three names up here. You have 5 minutes. We will give you 5 minutes to speak. And I think you just announced who you are. Joseph Reedman is the first one.
Thank you, Mr. President, Council. I'm here, I'm one of the owners and the authorized representative of Wilson Park, Inc., which is the owner of the Dixie Cup property in Wilson Borough. I've been involved in that project since 1983. We have rehabilitated that building once when we had it under lease to Frick Transfer and operated as a third-party logistics facility. After a period of time, about the last 10 years or so, the building has been vacant and has had some windows broken in, largely vacant. We had a tenant in there until January or February of this year, but it's been largely vacant. And we think it is time to make that building another asset to the community. In order to do that, because of the extensive cost of renovations and rehabilitation, needs new roof, new elevators, windows, clean up the environmental. We have a complete environmental study done of the building. We have approval from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection under Act 2, and we have isolated what the costs are to do that completion. So once that is done, then the Act 2 will follow and be granted. We've had an agreement of sale on the property with a potential developer, and we are interested in proceeding with the sale to a developer who will do the building correctly. The borough has approved, the Wilson Borough has approved a LERTA, both the designation geographically and provided a LERTA resolution. The school district, and that was done unanimously. The school district has done the same, unanimous approval. So we're before County Council seeking approval of the LERTA resolution that is contained in the handout that I saw. We have access to 25th Street as part of an agreement with the borough. The borough has entered into, or at least negotiated and ready to be signed, a development agreement calling for a number of things, satisfying some of the structural positions, the windows, for example, painting, interior, exterior cleanup, and make it usable. It has access to 25th Street. If you are familiar with that area, you know where the Easton High School is. There is a traffic light there. The access from this building, or egress from this building, would be basically where that traffic light is, onto 25th Street. In the past, that's a PennDOT road. In the past, PennDOT has done a study of and the ability to access that. I have no reason to believe it would not be granted. A formal application would have to be made, but I recall meeting on site with an engineer from PennDOT indicating, yes, that would be okay. That was some time ago, so it would have to be looked at again. I understand that. Basically, I think this is something that is very helpful for the development of this building, and I'd ask for your approval. One side note outside of this, I'm very pleased to see that the picture of the first Northampton County Council, which I was a member, has been hiding behind that area. I appreciate that. It used to be up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Donald Barrett.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hearing me. My name is Don Barrett. I'm the mayor of Wilson Borough, and I was here, God, maybe about a year and a half ago, and you told me, hey, if you ever need anything, come back and see us. So over the past few weeks, I have reached out. Our solicitor has done a great job, and he's been working with Mr. Reappointment, which when I was here last time, I believe Mr. Cusack asked me what's going on with the Dixie building. I believe somebody else also said what's going on with that albatross in the borough. So what's happened is, since January, we have been in negotiations and talking and working with Mr. Reappointment and the potential buyer for the borough. So I have stayed away from county council and don't like to come down here much. And we told you that before. You said, hey, come on down whenever. And I was like, well, I'd like to kind of stay back a little bit and see what's going on. And what's been going on, and this is kind of disheartening for me, is a lot of stuff has been going on and a lot of conversation in the press. And I purposely try to keep myself to a minimum. If somebody asks me a question, I'll ask Carrie. I've actually text messaged Carrie and asked Carrie. Or I will say, talk to our solicitor. And I know the big concerns are there's a lot of traffic between two schools. Well, when Mayor's Bakery was there, the Dixie building was in full force, Mac Printing was working, and Pfizer was in full force. There was a lot more pollution and traffic then. So we're looking to bring back the borough. So I always give a little bit of history in there because I'm a little bit of a history buff and I like looking into it. The building was empty in 1983. It was purchased by a group of developers in 80. In 83, it was empty. For the most part, nothing in there. Elevators have been deteriorated. All 7 are gone. And trust me, they're not conducive for freight. They're small. They would need to be repaired. There's lead paint. There's asbestos, okay? There's a lot of stuff that this building needs. It has sat empty for 40 years this year, because it was 83. Some little known facts, the cup on top during the Hurricane Diane supplied water for the area. I don't know if anybody knew that. That was kind of interesting for me to find out. So what I want you to take a look at, for all of you guys who are talking about the albatross in the borough and the cup, what you got to realize is that cup has deteriorated, my town has deteriorated. I'm really passionate about it. We don't have the money for Mac Printing. I have reached out to county along with our borough manager and a lot of our council folks and said, hey, we need help. Well, you need an economic development authority. Well, guess what? Up until about a year and a half ago, boroughs weren't allowed to have one. And we only have 3 employees in the office. Other than police and stuff, we only have 3 employees. So we don't have the resources of a big community. Did research, look up LERTAs. I saw one that was sponsored by Mr. Meyer and Mr. Zarinsky for Easton for LERTA zones. So we don't want to see this in there. We don't want to see that in there. Do we want another Oh Wow Cow? Do we want another brew pub? What do we want to see in this building? Now, Wilson High School is one of the top 100 schools in the country. There's a reason for that. The reason is they have small class sizes. They're very good at getting everybody through AP. US News and World Report put it in there. We don't want to put a housing project in there. We capped it at 15% for a reason, to keep our classes small. We have people coaching for Wilson on Northampton County Council. I've coached for Wilson. We want to keep the classes small, keep them effective. Our AP rate is one of the reasons that we're allowed in there. We're low-income housing. Wilson is low-income housing. Almost 40%, according to the census, is low-income housing or rentals. So low-income housing, let's put 300 apartments in there at maybe 2 cars per apartment. 600 cars is not going to cause any traffic. Plus retail space. So I get the there's traffic, there's this, there's that. But what does county council want to see? We've reached out for every possible option we could. And we've asked, and we have a person who's interested in buying, and we have a gentleman who's actually working to sell the building and work with the borough. And this is, I know from all you guys being on council, like I said, Mr. Cusack, you were on for a while, and you asked me last time, we actually have people working with us for a change. So what I'm asking you folks to do is, I know that Lord is in front of you. I know we don't have a sponsor for it, because when I'm looking at it, I see sponsors' names on other ones. But we'd like to have it sponsored and see if we can go through. The school district approved it unanimous. The borough approved it unanimous. The KOZ that went through, I believe in, I want to say 92, was only 5-4 from the school district. So that says a little bit about the project itself.
You got to wrap it up.
Okay. If the school district says 5-4, but this is unanimous, it's 11% of every $100 will go to the county. So I'm just asking for your help to kind of push this through. Thank you.
I don't want to butcher this name. Armando Mortiz.
Moritz Pelican.
Thank you, sir.
As soon as I heard that, I knew it was my number. I have copies of my testimony. Can I approach to hand them out? Or? Can you hear me okay? Because the mask, okay, great. Good evening. Thank you, Northampton County Council. My name is Armando Moritz Pelican, and I am a resident in Wilson Borough. I'm here to urge you to reject the proposed LRTA for the Dixie Cup property in my neighborhood. While I've expressed my concerns on this issue in the press, through an online and print petition, and attempted to do so at Borough Council, and I'm happy to discuss all of that with you all here tonight, I also wanted to provide some personal context as to why this issue is so important to me. I came out to the Lehigh Valley over a decade ago, and I fell in love with this area. I double majored in political science and philosophy at Moravian College, now Moravian University. I worked at a law office down the road from where years later I would buy a house with my wife, who I met during my final year at Moravian. I made some of my best friends here. In the time since my graduation, I've come back year after year to reconnect with them and found the wave of warehouse development enveloping the region. Throughout that time, I've read accounts of residents who tried and failed to ultimately stop the march of warehouses that now overwhelm the valley. As a community and economic development professional, I can understand the allure of warehouse development in this area. The Lehigh Valley's proximity to New York and Philadelphia makes it a prime location for last-mile logistics and warehousing. However, as you know, you are not accountable to the recipients of packages passing through Northampton County, but to the county residents themselves. There is enormous potential in this region. The colleges are a draw for youthful energy and new talent. The social, political, and physical infrastructure of the Lehigh Valley cities creates unique opportunities for regional economic development. And the same proximity recognized by warehouse developers is a strength that could be leveraged to attract businesses and investment from well-resourced cities. As a whole, these assets can be the basis for transformative and more equitable community development, or they can be wasted on another warehouse. When my wife and I made the decision to start our family here, we also committed to advancing this vision for equitable and innovative community development. The proposal to redevelop the Dixie Cup into a warehouse is neither equitable nor innovative. It perpetuates the kind of development residents I've spoken with are tired of. It would further deteriorate the quality of our air and roads, and it would introduce a new variable to traffic patterns and a threat to pedestrian safety within a stone's throw of 3 schools, because I would also include Wilson Elementary in that equation. I can respect the eagerness of local officials to reactivate this site after almost 40 years. What I can't respect is the unwillingness to ask basic questions about what this proposal will mean for the community beyond a repaired facade and the potential for tax revenue. Any developer looking to redevelop this site could offer those benefits. Are we as a district, a borough, and a county really that desperate that we are willing to not only accept this proposal, but to provide a tax benefit for such an inappropriate development on the developer's terms? I fully recognize, and this is in the developer's own words when he was here last month, this project hinges upon county approval. I would say all the more reason to reject it. LRTA was established by the General Assembly under the authority of the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 8, Section 2, which allows tax exemptions to, quote, encourage the improvement of deteriorating property or areas. To allow a warehouse to go forward at this site would decrease our air quality, further congest our roads, and reduce overall quality of life. In short, it would improve the property at the expense of the area. We should not have to choose between the two. We should be leveraging LRTA to accomplish both. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. I look forward to having a chance to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for the courtesy of the floor? Come up, state your name, and you have 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. I'm Justin Woodring. I'm a member of Wilson Borough Council, and thank you for putting this on the agenda this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys. This Dixie building has been an issue with the borough for a long, long time. You guys all know, 40 years. Everybody's said it. I appreciate the passion that Armando has and his commitment to having a safe, clean community, and we share that. You know, all of us do. We want Wilson Borough to be a good place where people want to raise their families. The thing I've been thinking about, one of the reasons we've approved the LRTA in Wilson Borough is because there have been many developers over the years who've come through with plans and ideas for this particular property. One of the things people always talk about is residential with a little bit of retail in the bottom, and nobody's been able to make the numbers work. As of like 3 years ago, in order for that project to be feasible, you're looking at $80 to $100 million in rehab before you even rent one unit. So keeping it as a commercial property the way it is now, it's zoned commercial and industrial, so it meets our zoning requirements. This is a use that is by right for the people. One of the things I like about this project is that it's going to be many different companies. They're going to rent it out slowly and rehab it as they go, and they get tenants and custom build for those people. And hopefully that would put in jobs that would be, you know, permanent for people, not just companies that are coming and going. Some of the tenants that were spoken about were embroidery companies and things like that, where they'd be doing finishing work. Yeah, there'd be some shipping in and out, but it's not primarily a warehouse. If you've been in any of those new warehouses, well, the one what are they calling for in Palmer Township? There's 2 of them that they're supposed to put up. How many thousand square feet? Is it 600 or something? Anyway, with that one, it's probably going to have 50-foot ceilings, wide open space. Now, the design of this building isn't anything like those buildings. This building doesn't allow itself to be a warehouse the way that the warehousing is being done in the areas surrounding. I think because this is something that can be done by right, but has a lot of remediation that needs to be done, allowing for a tax, not abatement, but the LRTA, freezing the taxes for 5 years and then doubling them for the next 5 years, and then allowing the assessment to go through after that is the deal that this LRTA is. I think it's more than fair for a property that has been underperforming for a very long time. I understand people's concern about going for the whatever's available, but there've been people who've come through in the past and it hasn't worked out. I know the way we've gone about this hasn't been the most direct way, but when you're dealing with real estate, those transactions need to be confidential and things need to be handled quietly. I don't know, at some point I'm gonna reach out to you guys and find out the best way to go about these things in the future. But at the same time, thank you for your time. I think you should vote yes on this LRTA because I think it's a big benefit to the community and Lehigh Valley and Northampton County as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on it at this point? Please come up, tell us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is John Burke. I'm president of Wilson Borough Council. I'm not going to stand here and repeat everything my constituents said, but I just want to reinforce something that Mayor Barrett did say, is that the building itself has not been in use since 1983. I was born in June 1983. So 39 years, I have not seen really much coming out of that building, and I was born in the city of Easton, graduated in 2001, been living in Wilson for the last 15 years. So almost half my life has been in Wilson, and I still have not seen anything done to that building. And this is probably the first time I can remember in recent history that something is actually going to happen with that building. And I know, it's a broken record. We want to see, see warehousing, but we don't want to see warehousing. It's much more than that. I don't think any of us really would have gone into it approving it if we thought it was just going to be a warehouse. The fact that multiple businesses can actually get into a facility like this, use space that is not a 60,000 a square foot warehouse, or, you know, something that's out in the middle of nowhere. This is right off of 25th Street, right next to 22. You know, you're gonna see a few trucks here and there, obviously, but, you know, I mean, we've really, I wish I was as passionate as Mayor Barrett, honestly, when it comes to this. I mean, me and him have been back and forth on this, you know, over the last few months. I really hope that you consider moving this LRTA along. We'd love to see the area develop. You know, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have for Borough Council also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next thing. Mr. Executive.
I suggest the need for a brief executive session with respect to the potential resolution of ongoing litigation.
It is 6:50. We're going to take a short recess for a executive session.
Don't you need a motion? You need a motion. I'll
We
second.
have a motion?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Sorry about that.
No, I don't think.
Right.
I saw her the other day.
Robin?
Yeah. At the gym.
Oh,
Her and, wait, listen to this one. I saw him walking on the treadmill. And it's like, it's a I'm just looking around, it's just literally, he turns around, it's thunder. Oh, Jesus, is that right? He's like, hi, you know, the guy is not friendly at all. He's like, hi, I'm like, oh, is that what it is? Yeah, you can go over the house. I'm like, you don't talk to me when I'm sitting in the chair, but. It'll be interesting. And so I'm not gonna be best friends, I'm like, I'm not hanging out with you. I don't even recognize him, he's wasting years.
Well, you know, I don't know.
Well, you never know. I don't know, but we should sit down, because he's intimidating when he stands up. Oh, no. Oh, God. I think so. Oh, I think so. I don't think it's got anything to do with it. Well, you know how we potential litigation, we do that. When you've got litigation, you can't talk about another one, cinnamon. Or would you rather have mint? These are hot. You like hot? These are my favorite. Boy, they're hard to find. They're rocks, sugar-free cinnamon. The only place I can find them is sometimes Walgreens has them. There's like, you know, 10 in a bag, they're $5.
It was on TV, I don't really know.
Never been. Fair Sam's?
Yep.
So I should go
Yeah,
there.
I got one.
Just, I want to buy one.
I always take one.
I was gonna say, I'll have to make chicken salad.
Yeah, I work in the park.
That's what I do too.
But, and that's that chicken didn't cost them any more than freeze
Every single thing. Chlorine tablets.
Oh, how about that? That lady was right, they told us.
You used to be able to buy a bag of shot. You can't buy, I can't buy those.
I'll tell you what, I don't know.
I used to.
When you put it in the fall,
Just some chlorine.
yes,
Just some shots.
I told this years ago. Just get this water, 60 or 70. Cover it.
We don't do it. I don't do any of the pH crap or anything. Chlorine, when it gets cloudy, if there's a clarifier, good time. My kid's like, should I buy pH up? Or I'm like, no.
You just say that we came back and no action was taken.
It is 7:59. We came back and no action was taken. We will move on now to the executive's report.
So-
Mr. McClure, it's all yours.
Really good news coming out of the budget negotiations in Harrisburg. The PPD going forward is going to be 2.87. So we were afraid that our patient per day hours were going to be 4.1. We fought for 3.4, and ultimately it turned out to be 2.87. So currently, we are at, let me just get it out. So 715 was 2.83, 716 was 2.6, 717 was 2.51, 718 was 2.84, 719 was 2.96, and 720 is 3. So I am fairly confident that by the time the new regulation kicks in, we will be able to meet it. at the current census or even a little higher. As we discussed previously, though, when we were talking about ARPA money, which I will use this as a segue into, a lot of this is going to be agency for the short term until the economy changes and people come back to being aides in long-term care facilities. But we are on the right track at Graysdale. I'm very pleased about that. My segue is the other half of the ARPA money has come in, and we can now start rolling with some of the important projects that council has already authorized us to begin. And finally, yesterday, you heard from your outside auditor, the single audit, and when the books closed, we had a $61 million fund balance. 48.9 of that was unrestricted, and we had increased our cash position $42 million, and we were really pleased with the financial and the fiscal management of the county and having that ratified by an outside agency. Now, we expect next year you won't see the fund balance as large because of our tax cut. We had our real estate property tax cut, and so that the fund balance should be reduced to somewhere in the neighborhood of $38 million. And, I'll probably propose a tax cut to you the next time it gets around 50. So if you're looking forward to my thinking in that regard, that's what it is. And that will conclude my report for this evening.
Any questions for the executive? Oh, this is moving too smooth. All right.
Do not.
Old business. Public hearing on the ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement.
Lori, did you have a question?
No, I just said jinx, thank you.
Stop messing me up. Let's try this again. An ordinance authorizing a lease agreement for the continued rental of the tower space by the County of Northampton at 121 Sitgrave Street, Easton, Pennsylvania, County of Northampton, for Industrial Communications Company. Mr. Giovanni, would you please read the ordinance for me, please?
Yes, I will.
Since it was you and I sponsored it.
Whereas Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 602, A6, provides that the Northampton County Council shall enact an ordinance lease of any real estate property of the county ordinance for any act with conveys to leases or authorizes that convenience of a lease of any property of the county. And now therefore be it hereby ordained and enacted by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby authorize Northampton County to enter into a lease agreement with Industrial Communications Company for the continued rental of the telecommunication tower located at 121 Seagrave Street, Easton, Northampton County, Pennsylvania, for 5 years commencing July 1, 2022, and terminating on June 30th, 2027, in the accordance with the terms of a lease agreement attached hereto and made part hereof as Exhibit A. This ordinance was advertised on the day and adopted by Northampton County Council on 2022 today.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments from the public on this? Discussion by council? Yes, Mr. Kuzak.
I see Mr. Weaver is here, and I'd like if he could just say a couple words about this.
Would you come forth, Mr. Weaver, and state your name, since we know you are, everybody else needs to.
Good evening. Todd Weaver, Northampton County Emergency Management Director. This lease actually, the older lease expired just this year. It was actually a 20-year lease, and it's actually 6 tower sites that we use throughout the county with our radio infrastructure. So we're looking to renew the lease, renegotiate it, and looking to be in this lease again so we can keep our equipment on the site.
Any other questions? None? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Yes. Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Is there any other old business that we need to discuss at this time? No, we're going to move on to new business. New business, an introduction of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance by Northampton County Council concurring with the Borough of Wilson and the Wilson Area School District, providing the property tax exempt for certain properties in the Borough of Wilson to be listed as a deteriorated property as defined in the Borough of Wilson's Resolution Number 1269 pursuant with Act 76 of 1977 of the General Assembly, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amended 72 PS 4722. I'm going to ask for a sponsor.
I would sponsor that.
Is it? We have Mr. Brown and Mr. Cusack. Okay, with that being said, this will be indicated in the public hearing debate. Possible vote will be held on August 4th at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Okay, we're going to move on to 2, consideration of a county executive appointment, reappointment resolution, Agency on the Aging Advisory Board, Drug and Alcohol Board, Mental Health, Early Intervention and Development Programs Advisory Board, Parks, Recreation, Open Space Advisory Board. Mr. Heckman, would you read the resolutions, please?
Certainly. Resolved by Northampton County Council that the following individuals shall be confirmed in their appointments or reappointments as indicated hereafter. Area Agency on Aging Advisory Board, Timothy Fisher, Easton, PA, Francis Green, Easton, PA, terms to expire 6/30/24. Drug and Alcohol Advisory Board, reappointment, Kathleen Earhart, Hellertown, PA, term to expire 6/30/24. Mental Health, Early Intervention and Developmental Programs Advisory Board, appointment J. Kirsten Carrera, Bethlehem, PA, and Arlene LaSalle Lund, Bethlehem, PA, term to expire 7/22/25. Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Advisory Board, appointment Rob Neitz, Nazareth, PA, term to expire 3/19/23. That's so moved.
Discussion on this?
How do we just say? The person I know on here the best is Arlene Lund, and I'm glad that she's going to come on board. I worked with her many years when she was affiliated with the United Way, and I know she's very passionate about human services in general and some areas in particular. So I saw her name, and it sort of jumped out at me. I didn't know she put in for an appointment, but I'm glad she did. That's all. It was like a commercial. I think they're all good people.
If there's no other discussion, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lott?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Now we have a consideration of personnel reclassification resolution, Department of Fiscal Affairs. Mr. Heckman, would you please introduce the resolution, please?
Resolved by the Northampton County Council that the position of Clerical Technician 3, pay grade RU 15-1A, salary $30,645, in the Department of Fiscal Affairs Revenue Division shall be reclassified to the position of Clerical Technician 2, pay grade RU 13-1A, salary $27,949, effective the 22nd day of July, 2022. So moved.
Discussion.
Oh, and by the way, we've had these, anything with personnel, we had a meeting yesterday and all of these were discussed. I just want to bring that up.
Thank you for that. Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lott?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Consideration of an adoption of updated pay scale for Department of Human Service Civil Service, non-union administrative staff resolution. Mr. Heckman, would you please introduce the resolution?
Whereas the Northampton County Council adopted Resolution 140-2021, which adopted pay scales for certain full-time county employees including the 2022 Department of Human Services Civil Service non-union administrative staff pay scale. And whereas on July 12, 2022, the Director of Human Services advised that due to changes in state maximum allowable salaries, it became necessary to revise the 2021 and 2022 Human Services Civil Service non-union administrative staff pay scale. Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that the 2021 and 2022 Human Services Civil Service non-union administrative staff pay scale shall be revised to read as indicated on the attached document, which is Exhibit A in your packet.
Discussion. No questions? Call for the vote.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Brown? Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
We have a consideration for Administrative Code Article 13, Contract Resolution, Reynolds Business System. Mr. Giovanni, would you do the pleasure?
Yes. Whereas Northampton County Administration Code Article 13, Procurement and Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, C2, requires approval of County Council for any contracts where the costs are to be funded with the monies outside of the county's general fund, such as those funded through bonded indebtedness. And whereas on July 7, 2022, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution endorsing a contract in the amount of $82,151.25 with Reynolds Business Systems for uploading of rescanned images and indexing into the Landex system associated with the deed book project and additional scanning of the two maps indexes. Now therefore be resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with Reynolds Business Systems. So,
Any discussion? If not, this was discussed yesterday at the meeting and it was brought forth. If we don't have any more discussion on that, can I call for a vote?
Mr. Giovanni?
yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner? Lori?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Do we have any other new business that needs to be brought up this time? Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Kuzic.
I have a question related to the recording of this meeting. I've noticed that it's been flashing the entire time. Typically, it stays solid during a recording. Has something changed that I've not
Right
been made
now,
aware of?
it is blinking. I don't know why it's not solid, but as in the previous meeting, it was recording. So I'm assuming that it's recording now.
Okay, could we have somebody with IT check on that?
We will check it out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We're going to follow up on that and find out what's going on. And if in the future, maybe we need to make sure that we have somebody here for IT for our meetings in case this happens again. Can I put that into a motion?
IT has a contract with us, and they control the employees, so it would have to be discussed with IT department.
Gotcha. All right, we can work with that. All right, if we have no other new business. Council committee reports.
I got one.
Yes, Mr. Heckman.
Had a Personnel Committee meeting yesterday. It was a good meeting, the fruits of which you voted on tonight. That's it.
Lori, are you there?
I am.
You want to make a report on your meeting from yesterday?
Sure. We had a finance committee meeting. The Mar Ducell representative, Jen, was here and reported on the outside audit, controllers reports, and the Article 13 contract. And that is all.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Today, we had an Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee meeting. Adrian Forrest from Waste Management gave an extensive presentation with a lot of follow-up questions by the committee. And I just want to let everybody know that if you want more information on the potential landfill expansion or any information on waste management's practices, they are having a tour, Spaces Limited, Monday, August 22nd at 5:30 PM. You can call Adrian by August 15th to RSVP, 1-888-373-2917. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for committee? Council liaison report. Kevin.
Yes, I attended Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corp. Yesterday. The two main topics, I would say, would be they're very excited about Pennsylvania lowering the business corporate tax. Right now, we're the second highest in the country behind our competition, which is New Jersey. The problem with that is our overall taxes aren't too bad when you factor everything together, the cost of doing business in Lehigh Valley, but a lot of times we don't get a look by these by national and international companies just because they eliminate sites right off the get-go by that tax rate. So the tax rate is going to go down in increments, and I apologize, I left my notes at home, so we're somewhere around 9%. It's going to end up somewhere around 5% over a period of time. I'm messing these numbers up. I want to say somewhere around a decade, it's going to roll down to that. So they think that'll help recruit more high-quality companies into the Lehigh Valley. So that was very interesting. Another thing, they showed us a graph and talked about projective projects that they're dealing with coming to the Lehigh Valley, and projects they have landed in the Lehigh Valley. And what they showed us was a graph of what type of businesses. And I was thrilled to see it was nearly 50% of prospective companies that they're working with are manufacturing companies, nearly 50% of who they're dealing with. Out of the projects they've won, nearly 50% were manufacturing. They're also trying to focus on, because of our great universities and colleges in the area, life sciences. That's another one they really focus on. And yes, warehousing came up, and it was said, we absolutely don't need to do any recruiting because the warehouse, as we all know, is booming in this area. So I was very happy to hear Lehigh Valley Economic Development doesn't put any effort into recruiting something that no effort is needed to be put into the recruit. Very happy about the manufacturing, also very happy about what they're not chasing after. Thank you.
Anyone else have a report? Clerk's report.
Nothing.
Solicitor's report.
Nothing.
Before we adjourn, I just want to thank everybody for being patient with me tonight for this. Second time I've done this as council. I'm glad to be back at council. I'm healing quite well. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I shall see everybody in 2 weeks.
Thank you.